later on went in the consumer electronics business and worked for two Japanese companies, Mitsubishi and Panasonic, and went over there several times on trips and worked with the Japanese people here. And they really are, you know, the salt of the earth, because they're a lot like, I'm forced to say it's not like today in America, but 20, 30, 50 years ago, they're much like we are, very family-oriented, very hardworking, very ethical, very moral, and what have you. So it was kind of...
I have a few more questions for you.
Go ahead.
I hope you don't mind.
I hope we have enough tape left.
We should. One of the questions I have is regarding the Vietnam War. When you came back, what was the morale for the Korean vets versus what happened with the Vietnam vets when they came back?
For the most part, as near as I can remember, for the most part it was a non-event. When we came back from Japan, 6 or 8 of us came back on a ship. Merchant Marine ship was the closest thing to a cork in the Pacific you can get, about 1,000 people on board. And we came into Seattle. And we got on the train and took the train to Chicago, and then we got tired of riding the train, so another friend and I that lived in Philadelphia, we got off the train, got on an airplane, and flew to Philadelphia. But we were on the train, and a couple of people, we were in uniform, and a couple of people on the train, we were in one of those dome cars, and we spent a lot of time in the bar, because the first time we're back in the U.S., we finally see women who have something different besides black hair, and a different look, you know, blondes and brunettes and redheads. And, you know, we've always been disposed to American women. I have, well, anyway. So it was very pleasant. We had a lot of conversation, or 5 of us on the train. And every once in a while a person would buy us a drink, but it was pretty much a non-event. I mean, we came back and I went to Fort Devens and spent 3 months up there, and we went out and simulated in the town. Of course, we wore civilian clothes. And every once in a while someone would say, are you at Fort Devens? Yeah, because they have a huge population up there in those days. Are you in the military? Yeah. And that was it. We did not have the problem that the Vietnamese guys had, where they come back where people spit on them and what have you. The Korean War was pretty much at the time a non-event. Right. I mean, it really wasn't a war. They refer to it as a conflict. The last 15 or 20 years, the powers that be finally figured, hey, we lost 50,000 people, so maybe we ought to call this a war.
Let me ask you this, Tom, and I agree with you. In my opinion, it was a war. Because we lost so many of our vets. How do you feel about what's going on with the military today, with these vets going into Afghanistan, Iraq, all these situations with under the administration we're under now? What's your opinion and your feelings about what's going on today with the military? Well,
I feel sorry for the military today. When in World War II and in Korea, and probably Vietnam, if you were engaged with the enemy, he shot at you, you shot back at him. If you knew he was hiding behind a tree, you went and sought him out and did whatever you did. You took him a prisoner, or in many cases you just shot him, because there's some stages of various wars they don't take prisoners. They didn't take us, we didn't take them. But when you're talking about Afghanistan and Iraq, you have to call headquarters to get permission to shoot at somebody that's shooting you. I don't agree with that. I don't want to get into politics here, but I support the wars because I think we need to let other people know that there's something else besides what they're living under. I think we have the greatest country in the world, or we have had the greatest country in the world. Let's hope we don't screw it up. But I think we have the greatest country in the world. And a kid like me, a high school graduate, coming out of high school, going into the military, not really having any trade other than a gift of gab, and a hard worker, and wanted to be a hard worker and a family man, I've done very well for myself. And there's lots of places in the world that you can't do that. Unless you're positioned or unless you're part of the ruling elite, you can't do that. And I think we need to show that to the world. Now, whether they want it or not, you know, I mean, I give you a piece of cheesecake. If you don't like it, that's up to you. You don't have to eat it, but, you know, at least offer it to you. So I think those two were, but I think the way military, we have too much political correctness. I don't think you need political correctness when people are shooting at you. That's a whole different ballgame. And I feel the same way about the cops. If you got a gun and you shoot at me and I'm a policeman, I'm going to shoot back. And if I kill you, hey, you shouldn't have picked up the gun in the first place.
Tom, I have another question for you. I don't mean to put you on the spot. You know, I was watching the debates with the Republicans just the other night. And they asked, how do you feel about waterboarding to get the maximum return as far as information to know who our enemies are and where they're at? How do you feel about waterboarding? If you had to make a decision, when it depended on your life and the life of the Americans. What's your opinion about waterboarding?
I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
I think we need to do whatever we need to do to find out if this fellow or one of his cohorts is going to blow up a building, the World Trade Centers, an airplane, a train station, whatever. As long as we don't kill the individual. And basically what you're doing in waterboarding, if you really look at it and think about it, it's nothing more than going into a scary Halloween house. I mean, you get the bejesus scared out of you because you really think you're drowning, but you don't. And I'm one of those kids that the way I learned to swim is a bunch of buddies of mine threw me in the water and I learned how to swim to the side of the dock. And I was scared, but hey, I figured out a way to get the hell out of the water. So, you know.
Well, you know, Tom, I happen to agree with you about the waterboarding. You know, I've talked to a lot of vets over the years, and when they had this debate on the Republican, and a lot of people disagreed with the waterboarding, I got to tell you, most military